There is a strange moment that happens to some men as they get older. Not when they are young, not when they are chasing attention. Later, much later. A moment when they walk past a mirror, catch their reflection for half a second, and immediately look away. Not because they dislike what they see, because they have already decided what they believe they are, and those are two very different things. I've spent years listening to women talk honestly about attraction. Not the polished answers they give in public, not the socially acceptable answers, the real ones that come out when they stop trying to sound perfect. And something keeps repeating itself. Many older men have absolutely no idea how attractive they actually are. Before we go any further, if you've ever felt invisible despite everything you've survived, everything you've built, and everything you've learned, subscribe and stay with me. Some conversations arrive exactly when they are needed. Now, I want you to imagine a woman watching a man enter a room. He isn't trying to impress anyone. He isn't scanning the room to see who noticed him. He isn't adjusting his posture every 5 seconds. He simply walks in. And somehow, people feel it. Most men think attractiveness begins with appearance. Women often experience it differently. Appearance matters, of course it does. But appearance is rarely the whole story, especially as people get older. Because eventually something interesting happens. Life starts writing itself onto your face. The way you've handled pressure, the disappointments you've survived, the responsibilities you've carried, the grief you've endured quietly. All of it leaves traces, and women notice those traces more than many men realize. The first sign you might be a handsome older man is surprisingly simple. Women seem unusually comfortable around you. Not necessarily flirtatious. Comfortable. There is a difference. A younger man often creates excitement. An attractive older man often creates emotional safety. And safety is deeply misunderstood. People hear that word and imagine something boring, predictable, safe. But emotional safety is one of the most attractive experiences a woman can have. Because so many people spend their lives around uncertainty, mixed signals, emotional games, performances. Then suddenly they meet a man who feels settled within himself. A man who doesn't seem desperate to prove anything, and they relax without knowing why. What fascinates me is that these men often miss the sign completely. A woman lingers in conversation longer than necessary. She laughs more freely. She shares personal stories unusually quickly. She maintains eye contact just a little longer. And he assumes she's simply being polite. Meanwhile, she feels something she cannot easily explain. She feels calm. And calm is becoming increasingly rare. The truth is, some of the most attractive qualities emerge after 40, 50, even 60. Not because aging magically creates attractiveness, but because experience can create a depth that youth cannot imitate. The problem is that many men still judge themselves using standards they learned decades ago. They compare themselves to younger versions of themselves, stronger, leaner, faster. What they don't see is what women often see immediately: presence. And presence has its own kind of beauty, a beauty that doesn't announce itself, a beauty that doesn't beg for attention, a beauty that quietly fills a room. And if you've spent years believing attraction belongs only to the young, you may have completely missed the fact that people are responding to you in ways you've stopped noticing. Because sometimes, the man who doubts himself the most is the man everyone else sees most clearly. A few years ago, a woman said something during a conversation that stayed with me. She was talking about a man nearly 20 years older than her, not a celebrity, not wealthy, not exceptionally stylish, just an ordinary man. At least that's how he saw himself. She looked at me and said, "The strange thing is, he doesn't seem aware of the effect he has on people." And I remember thinking, that sentence appears more often than most men would ever imagine. Because the second sign you're a handsome older man is that people pay attention to you even when you're not asking for it. You may not notice it. In fact, the men who notice it the least are often the ones who have it the most. You walk into a cafe, someone glances up. You begin speaking. People listen carefully. You tell a simple story, others lean in. Not dramatically, not like a movie scene, just subtly, almost invisibly. And because it happens naturally, you assume it means nothing. But attraction is rarely as obvious as men expect. Many men imagine attraction as being chaste, complimented, or openly desired. Real life is usually quieter, much quieter. A woman notices how calmly you respond when something goes wrong. She notices that you don't compete for attention in a group. She notices that you seem comfortable with silence. And something inside her becomes curious. Not because you're trying to impress her, because you're not. That distinction matters more than most men realize. When we're younger, we often perform confidence. Later in life, genuine confidence begins replacing performance. And women are remarkably sensitive to that difference. They may not consciously explain it, they may not even understand it themselves, but they feel it. Think about the last time you met someone who seemed completely comfortable being themselves. Not arrogant, not loud, not seeking approval, just comfortable. There is something magnetic about that, and older men sometimes develop this naturally after years of experience. Not because life was easy, usually because it wasn't. Because life eventually teaches lessons no book can teach. It teaches you that not every disagreement needs a battle. Not every criticism deserves a response. Not every silence needs to be filled. Those lessons change how a man carries himself. The result is often a presence that feels grounded, and grounding is attractive, very attractive. What is interesting is that many handsome older men still carry old insecurities from decades earlier. They remember being overlooked at 25, rejected at 30, heartbroken at 38. So when people respond positively to them later in life, their minds struggle to accept it. They still see the younger version of themselves, the uncertain version, the version still trying to earn worth. Meanwhile, everyone else is seeing the man standing in front of them now, a different man, a stronger man, a more complete man. And that leads to another subtle sign. Women seem genuinely interested in your opinions. Not because they automatically agree with you, because they value how you think. There is a difference. Physical attraction may get attention, but psychological attraction creates fascination. And fascination often grows from observing how someone sees the world. The older you become, the more your experiences shape your perspective. If you've handled life with honesty, resilience, and self-awareness, that perspective becomes visible. You may not see it, others do. The way you solve problems, the way you speak, the way you listen, the way you react when things don't go your way. All of these small moments tell a story, and stories attract people, especially women who are looking beyond appearances. The truth is that many men spend years worrying about whether they're still attractive, while completely overlooking the evidence that people are already responding to them. Not because they're perfect, not because they're flawless, but because maturity, when carried well, creates a kind of attractiveness that doesn't need to announce itself. It simply exists. And the people around you feel it before you do. There is another sign that almost no man notices, and honestly, it might be the most revealing one of all. Women remember you. Not just your face, not just your name. You. The details, the conversation, the feeling they had after talking to you. I want you to think about that for a moment, because memory is emotional. People rarely remember every word that was spoken. They remember how someone made them feel while those words were being spoken. And that brings us to the third sign. Women often remember small interactions with you long after you have forgotten them. You may meet someone briefly, a few minutes of conversation, a simple exchange. Then weeks later, or months later, she recalls something you said, something you barely remember saying. And you're surprised, maybe even confused, because to you, it was ordinary. To her, it wasn't. Now, this doesn't happen because you delivered some perfect line. In fact, it usually happens for the opposite reason. You were genuine. You weren't trying to create an impression. You weren't performing. You weren't calculating your next move. You were simply present. And presence leaves a deeper mark than performance ever will. One thing I've noticed about attractive older men is that they often underestimate the emotional impact of authenticity. They think attraction comes from saying the right thing, having the right look, making the right move. But many women are exhausted by people who constantly manage their image. They're tired of conversations that feel rehearsed, tired of interactions that feel strategic. So when they encounter someone who feels real, they notice, immediately. And realness becomes increasingly attractive as people grow older, because maturity changes what people value. At 20, excitement may dominate attraction. At 40, 50, or 60, trust starts becoming incredibly important. Consistency becomes attractive. Emotional steadiness becomes attractive. Honesty becomes attractive. And when these qualities exist naturally inside a man, women often feel it before they can explain it. Here's something else. The fourth sign you're a handsome older man is that women seem unusually curious about your life. Not your achievements, your life. There's a difference. They ask questions, they want stories, they want context. They want to know where you've been, what you've learned, what shaped you. And many men misinterpret this. They think she's just being friendly. Sometimes she is. But sometimes what she's really responding to is depth. Depth creates curiosity. Think about it this way. A book isn't interesting because of its cover alone. Eventually, people want to know what's inside. The same thing happens with human beings. And older men often carry layers of experience that younger men simply haven't had time to develop. The challenge is that many men become so accustomed to their own story that they stop recognizing its value. Your struggles feel ordinary to you because you lived through them. Your lessons feel normal because you've carried them for years. Your growth feels invisible because it happened gradually. But from the outside, it's visible, very visible. People can sense when someone has been tested by life and remained kind. They can sense when someone has faced disappointment without becoming bitter. They can sense when someone has learned humility without losing confidence. These qualities don't show up on a resume. They don't appear in photographs. Yet they influence attraction in powerful ways. A woman may not consciously think, he's attractive because he's emotionally grounded. She simply enjoys being around you. She feels calmer, safer, more understood, more relaxed. And then she finds herself wanting another conversation, another story, another moment. Not because you're demanding attention, because your presence feels different from most people she encounters. And that difference, that quiet emotional weight, may be far more attractive than you realize, especially if you've spent years assuming nobody notices. Because sometimes the qualities that make a man handsome later in life are the exact qualities he has stopped paying attention to in himself. There is a misconception that quietly follows many men as they age, a painful one. It tells them that every year takes something away, that attractiveness is a countdown, that value slowly disappears. And if enough years pass, eventually nobody looks twice. I've heard that fear hidden beneath countless conversations, not always spoken directly. Sometimes it appears in a joke, sometimes in self-deprecating comments, sometimes in the way a man dismisses a compliment before it can fully reach him. But here's what fascinates me. Women often see something entirely different, because the fifth sign you're a handsome older man is that people trust you surprisingly quickly. Not blindly, not irrationally, but naturally. There is something about you that lowers defenses. People open up. Conversations become personal faster than expected. Strangers tell you things they normally wouldn't tell a stranger. And if this happens regularly, pay attention. Because trust is rarely random. Most people are constantly scanning their environment for emotional signals. Is this person safe? Can I relax around them? Can I be myself around them? When the answer feels like yes, connection begins forming almost immediately. What many men fail to understand is that trust itself is attractive, very attractive. Not in a dramatic, cinematic way, in a deeply human way. A woman who feels emotionally safe around a man often experiences a form of attraction that grows quietly over time. Not explosive, not impulsive, steady. And steady things tend to last longer. One woman once described this feeling beautifully. She said, "I never worried about what version of him I was going to meet." That sentence stayed with me, because consistency creates emotional security. You know where you stand, you know who you're dealing with. And in a world filled with unpredictability, that becomes incredibly valuable. Now here's something even more interesting. The sixth sign you're a handsome older man is that younger people often seek your attention and approval without realizing it. Have you noticed that? Not necessarily romantic attention, just attention. They ask for your opinion. They listen carefully when you speak. They seem interested in your perspective. Sometimes they even mirror your behavior. And many men dismiss this. They assume it means nothing. But human beings are drawn toward people who appear grounded, toward people who seem comfortable in their own skin, toward people who carry experience without needing to advertise it. Younger people often sense wisdom before they can define it, and women notice it too, not because wisdom makes someone perfect, because wisdom often creates emotional balance. When a man has learned from life instead of becoming hardened by it, something changes in the way he interacts with others. His reactions slow down, his ego softens, his confidence becomes quieter, and strangely enough, quiet confidence tends to be more powerful than loud confidence. A loud man often wants everyone to know he's confident. A truly confident man rarely thinks about proving it. That difference is impossible to fake for long. People feel it, especially women. They notice how you respond under pressure, how you treat people who cannot offer you anything, how you handle disappointment, how you carry success. Character reveals itself in ordinary moments, and attraction frequently grows there, not in grand gestures, not in perfect appearances, in everyday behavior. The way you greet someone, the way you listen, the way you remain calm when others become reactive. These moments seem small, yet they create a powerful emotional impression. The irony is that many handsome older men are still focused on what they believe they lost: a little hair, a younger face, a different body. Meanwhile, the people around them are responding to qualities they gained, qualities that took decades to build, qualities that cannot be purchased, copied, or rushed. And sometimes the very things you think make you less attractive are the exact things making people trust, respect, and admire you more than ever before. There is one moment that many attractive older men experience and almost always misunderstand. A woman looks at them, not casually, not by accident. She studies them for a second longer than necessary, then she looks away. And nothing happens. At least, that's what the man believes. He assumes it meant nothing. She was probably distracted, probably thinking about something else, probably looking past him. So he moves on, and the moment disappears. Or at least he thinks it does. Because the seventh sign you're a handsome older man is that women notice you when you aren't trying to be noticed. This is where many men become confused. When we're young, attention is often obvious. People flirt openly, compliments arrive more directly, everything feels louder. But mature attraction is often quieter, more subtle, more thoughtful. A woman may not immediately act on what she feels. She may simply observe, watch, notice. Because attraction isn't always an action. Sometimes it's attention. And attention is one of the most honest things people give. Think about your own life. You pay attention to things that matter to you, things that interest you, things that make you curious. Women are no different. If someone repeatedly notices you, remembers details about you, watches your reactions, or seems unusually aware of your presence, that attention is telling a story, not necessarily a romantic story, but a story nonetheless. The problem is that many men have spent so many years doubting themselves that they automatically dismiss positive signals. Their minds become trained to explain them away. A compliment becomes politeness, interest becomes friendliness, attention becomes coincidence, and eventually they stop seeing what is right in front of them. What makes this especially common among older men is experience. Experience can create wisdom, but it can also create caution. After enough disappointments, many people become reluctant to believe good things about themselves. They trust criticism faster than compliments. They remember rejection longer than admiration, and without realizing it, they carry those old conclusions into the present. But the present is not the past. You are not the same man you were 20 years ago, and the people seeing you today are not seeing the younger version you're still comparing yourself to. They're seeing who you are now. Which brings me to the 8th sign, perhaps the most powerful one of all. People seem to feel better after spending time with you. Not impressed, not entertained, better, calmer, lighter, more understood, more at ease. This is one of the least discussed forms of attractiveness because it doesn't fit into the usual conversation, yet it may be the most meaningful. There are people who enter a room and demand attention. Then there are people who leave a room and are missed after they leave. The second kind is rarer and often far more attractive. Women frequently describe these men in similar ways. I like being around him. I feel comfortable talking to him. He makes me feel relaxed. He feels different. Notice something. These descriptions are emotional, not physical, because attraction is never just about appearance. It is also about experience, how someone experiences you, how they feel around you, how your presence influences their emotional state. And if people consistently feel calmer, safer, happier, or more grounded around you, that is not something to dismiss. That is something to understand. Because a handsome older man is not simply a man with good features. He is often a man whose presence creates a positive emotional experience for the people around him. And whether you realize it or not, that kind of attractiveness leaves a lasting impression. I want to leave you with something that may feel uncomfortable at first. Not because it's negative, because it challenges a story you may have been telling yourself for years, maybe even decades. The story that your best years are behind you. The story that attractiveness belongs to younger men. The story that whatever made you desirable has slowly faded with time. Many men carry that belief so quietly that they stop questioning it. It becomes background noise, a silent assumption. They look at themselves and immediately notice what changed. The hair that disappeared, the lines around the eyes, the extra weight, the signs of age. And because those changes are visible, they become impossible to ignore. But here's the problem. When you focus only on what changed physically, you often miss everything that changed emotionally, everything that deepened, everything that strengthened, everything that became more valuable. Because the truth is, most women are not evaluating you the way you evaluate yourself. You are looking at your reflection. They are experiencing your presence. And those are not the same thing. A woman may notice your smile, but she's also noticing how relaxed she feels talking to you. She may notice your appearance, but she's also noticing your patience, your confidence, your steadiness, your warmth, your emotional control, the way you listen instead of waiting for your turn to speak, the way you make a conversation feel easy, the way you don't seem desperate for validation. Those things matter, more than many men realize. I've watched countless men reach a point in life where they quietly assume they've become invisible. And yet the women around them are noticing qualities that have only become stronger with age. Qualities that were still developing 20 years earlier. There is something profoundly attractive about a man who has been shaped by life without becoming cynical. A man who has known disappointment but still remains open. A man who has experienced failure but continues moving forward. A man who has learned humility without losing confidence. Those qualities cannot be created overnight. They take years, sometimes decades, and they become part of how a man carries himself, part of how he speaks, part of how he looks at the world, part of how people feel around him. That is why some men become more attractive as they grow older, not because time stopped affecting them, because they learned how to carry time well. And perhaps that's what I want you to remember most. Being a handsome older man is not about pretending you're still 25. It's not about competing with younger men. It's not about chasing approval. It's not about proving anything. It's about becoming fully comfortable with the man you've become. The man who survived difficult years. The man who learned hard lessons. The man who kept going when nobody was watching. The man who quietly built character while the world was focused on appearances. Because when a man reaches that place, something changes. People trust him. People remember him. People feel drawn toward him. And often he doesn't even realize it. So if you've spent years assuming nobody notices you anymore, consider the possibility that you've been measuring yourself with the wrong standard. Consider the possibility that some of the qualities you overlook are the exact qualities others value most. And consider this final thought. The most attractive men are not always the ones who receive the most attention. Sometimes they are the ones whose presence stays in someone's mind long after they've gone. The ones people remember, the ones people trust, the ones people feel safe with, the ones who make others feel seen. And if several of the signs we've talked about today felt familiar, then maybe, just maybe, you are far more handsome than you've allowed yourself to believe.